Hello and welcome to Water Within Astrology. My name is Carly and we are here today to discuss the upcoming Virgo New Moon. That is one of two Virgo New Moons that are coming up in the next month. And so let's get into it. This is happening at 2:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please adjust your time according to wherever you're located in the world. I am a Virgo moon. Let's just go ahead and put that out there right at the beginning of this. And so to have two new moons in a row in Virgo, I know I'm going to be feeling this. I already am. How was that Aquarius full moon for everyone, by the way? Leave your comments below. I would love to hear how it happened for you. For me, I was shaken up pretty dramatically. I did a 4-day fast. I was riding high on the Lionsgate full moon energies. I took myself to the beach because it was so needed. My nervous system was absolutely destroyed. Would love to hear how it hit for you guys because it was not a joke. And, you know, the astrology for 2025 has already been unprecedented and it has already been just bonkers as far as the aspects go and as far as every single planet moving into new territory. I know I've said it a million times, but I'm just going to keep saying it in every video because it's a big deal. This doesn't happen. 2025, a 9-year endings, completion, the year of the snake in Chinese astrology, shedding old skins. And so with this Virgo new moon, this first one that we have coming up on the 23rd of August, which is a Saturday, and we had the full moon on a Saturday as well, and Saturday is ruled by Saturn, so take that for what you will. But this new moon, this first one, is happening at 0 degrees of Virgo, so the very beginning of the sign of Virgo. And not only is the sun and the moon both there at 0 degrees of Virgo, but there is something else there at 0 degrees of Virgo that's very relevant to this lunation. It's very special, it's very magical, and it's very royal. And it is the fixed star Regulus, which is known as the heart of the lion, Leo. Over the years, it's the stars have shifted from where the Hellenistic astrologers way back in the day set the zodiac to be in the sky. So that's why we have different types of astrology now. We have tropical astrology, which follows the astrology that is set and never moves in alignment with the seasons. And then we have Vedic astrology, which is exactly aligned with where the stars actually are now in the modern day. So it's about 24 degrees off, reversed. So the Vedic astrology is 24 degrees behind the tropical astrology. Anyways, not to go off on that tangent to start, but Regulus at 0 degrees of Virgo, just explaining why that is the heart of the lion, but it's actually not in the sign of Virgo. Or I'm sorry, in the sign of Leo. It's because over time it's shifted. So that doesn't mean either or is right or wrong, by the way. There's a huge debate about that, and a lot of astrologers just like kind of, you know, bash each other for using the wrong kind of astrology. So anyways, if you want to dive into that debate, you can do that on your own time. I'm here to say all is valid. It's like looking at a map of the land, one that shows like the mountains, one that shows like roadways, one that shows, you know what I mean? It's like different types of map for the same thing. Neither of them are right or wrong. It's just different types of maps. So moving on. we are seeing the sun and moon at 0 degrees of Virgo making a square to Uranus and making a trine to Chiron. Those are the only two aspects that are actually involving directly the sun and the moon. What we do have in addition to those two aspects, and I'm going to explain what those mean here in a minute, is the new moon is in a yod. So that is also known as what's called a finger of God. Essentially, it's an acute triangle with 2 points here, and then one at the top, the point of the triangle. That's going to be what the finger is pointing at. So the 0 degrees of Virgo is down here at this point, and that's what is the main focus. The two base points are actually involving 3 planets. It's Saturn and Neptune up here in Aries at 1 degree and 0 degrees. And then, so they're together and they're sharing that base point. And then we have Pluto and Aquarius at 1 degrees doing that other base point. So, pretty strong things happening. We're going to get into what all of that means. First of all, this new moon is ruled by Mercury. Mercury, we just saw stationed direct 2 days after the full moon that we had in Aquarius just 2 weeks ago. So we're still feeling there's a shadow phase period of Mercury after it actually stations direct, that it's kind of still getting its footing back. It's kind of still in its place where it's not quite full speed ahead yet. So if you have felt like Mercury retrograde wasn't actually over, then you're exactly where you need to be. Mercury is hanging out at 12 degrees of Leo right now, at the time of this new moon. And I'm recording this on Tuesday the 19th, by the way. So I really wanted to get this out early because we've got a lot to cover. Mercury's hanging out at 12 degrees of Leo, like I said, and it's also making a sextile to Mars. So a sextile is a positive aspect. Maybe what that could look like is we are needing to take some sort of positive action in order to improve our daily lives, because Mercury rules our daily lives. Something that is taking action in a way that adds to that Leo energy, that royal energy, that Regulus energy, right? So Regulus is this point, a fixed star. It doesn't move. It has a green glow to it, so it's definitely associated with the heart. The heart chakra is associated with the color green. And it's called the heart of the lion. Leo is already about heart-centered energy. It's already about leading from the heart, doing what makes us happy, tapping into that inner child, tapping into, a way of performing that doesn't need to prove itself, but is just doing it for the love and the joy of it. So what can we do now? Mars is taking action. To maybe what can we do every day to work towards that energy? Mars is in Libra at 10 degrees, and so Mars in Libra can struggle sometimes with taking action. It can kind of be in this like paralysis where it's always just weighing the options. The Libra is the scales, so like it's kind of like maybe avoiding confrontation, maybe avoiding taking action, because then it would rock the boat, then it would disturb the peace, then it would, it would tip the scales in one way or another. And Mars does struggle there in Libra. So that's the first part. Let's go ahead and move into that square to Uranus. The square to Uranus is... A square is a harsh aspect that's creating a challenge. And it's asking us to be light on our feet. It's asking us to be ready for the unknown. Expect the unexpected is essentially the Uranus motto. And so we could be getting some news. For me, I definitely got some shocking news around that full moon in Aquarius, and I'm still kind of just adjusting to that news and to life with like my new life that exists now that the news has come and changed everything. And so what adjustments do we need to make in our own lives to adjust if sudden shocking things do occur? Now, I will say, because this new moon is occurring at 0 degrees of Virgo, the moon moves every 2.5 days. So we're going to have 2.5 days after the actual new moon hits with the moon still in Virgo. And that square doesn't actually exact until the next day, so the 24th on Sunday. So if you think on Saturday that nothing happened and everything's fine, just hold your horses, because that square actually exacts the next day and the moon will still be in Virgo. So all of this is kind of just like a huge portal, and it's not just this new moon. Technically, this new moon is the beginning of eclipse season. Why? Because the eclipses happen on the nodes of the moon. Right now we have the north node in Pisces of the moon, the north node of the moon in Pisces, and then we have the south node in Virgo. It's not an eclipse, this new moon, because the lunation is occurring farther away from the nodes, and so it's not quite close enough to be considered an eclipse. The nodes are going to be at 18 degrees of Virgo and Pisces, and so that's pretty far away. It's actually, the sun is going to be exactly conjunct the south node in Virgo on the 15th of September, which is when we have our next lunation, our lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this new moon is starting a story that is going to last a whole moon cycle, starting with the new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees. Then we're going to have 2 weeks pass, and we're going to have the Pisces lunar eclipse at 15 degrees. And then we are going to be having our second new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees. So the very last degree point of Virgo. We're having the beginning and the end. So there's a little bit of pressure off of us right now with the Virgo, with this first new moon, because we're going to have these same themes coming up again at the end of the month. And it's going to be louder and it's going to be more intense. 29 degrees is known as the anaretic degree or a crisis point. It's the loudest Virgo energy. Once it gets to that 29 degrees, something you can do, if you're curious, you can look at your chart and just see if you have anything at 29 degrees of any sign and see if that resonates with you, that those energies are extra loud in your personality, in your life, whatever it might be. And if you don't understand any of that, I would love to help you look at your chart. My books are open, so comment below if you want a reading with me. Moving on. We have that yod, that finger of God, pointing at the Virgo new moon, and Saturn and Neptune are over here in Aries. They are raring to go. They are being rebirthed. The structures, our dreams, what has our dream always been for this life? And can we actually make that a reality now? Because Saturn is reality, Neptune is the dreams. We have the power with them together, in Aries especially, to actually make that dream come true. So you know, it's not without its problems. Saturn is also consequences. Neptune is also addiction and, you know, madness, essentially. Like, a lot of us could be really upset and frustrated and, you know, being pushed to a point of madness because of the structures that are crumbling and that are not meeting our needs, and they are making us want to revolt and fight back, because Aries is that fighter, that warrior. And then we have Aquarius Pluto over here. If you're one of those people, I'm assuming you're not because you're someone who's watching this video, who genuinely doesn't believe Pluto is relevant anymore, I'm so sorry that you have that perspective, but Pluto is the most powerful planet in the solar system, period, point blank. And that's not just coming from me as Scorpio stellium, because, you know, most of my chart is ruled by Pluto, and I have Pluto in Scorpio as well. So Pluto brings not sudden exactly, but deep, lasting change. It is this concept of dying and being reborn. Dying and letting whatever has died be fertile soil for the new. And so, you know, what are all of those energies together pointing at that Virgo new moon, asking us to change about our daily lives? Virgo rules our daily habits, our rituals and routines, the mundane. It rules organization, it rules planning, it rules details, it rules purification, it rules the gut and the microbiome, especially those tiny little germs that are good germs that live inside of our body that help us to digest, to help us have a healthy gut. You know, kombucha comes to mind as something that would be a practical implementation for this new moon. Doing any kind of detoxing or fasting. I actually didn't even think about the fact that we were about to move into a new moon in Virgo when I did my fast. That Lionsgate full moon energy was just so insanely amazing and potent and transformative, and also just flat out, you know, debilitating in a way, that I was just riding that energy and didn't even think about the fact that it was relevant to do a fast right before this Virgo new moon. And we just had Mars in Virgo before it was in Libra. So maybe this whole summer has been this kind of like this whisper of like where you need to let go of bad habits, you know, little things that you do, you know, maybe it's something like just oh, my habit is to just go for a soda instead of like a kombucha, you know, or juice or something that's a little bit more healthy for you. You know, and you know that you're doing it too, but it's like something that maybe is so habitual that you don't think about it every single time, and now's the chance for us to see these things, these patterns, and for us to make a change and to make a conscious decision to move towards healthier choices. So I don't know if this is just my world and this is just my Virgo moon talking, but I'm someone who deeply advocates for healthier and most of the time unpopular opinions around the choices that I make with my food and with my life. And so now's a great time to be like looking at our addictions, whether that's, you know, an addiction to something physical like food, or, you know, of course like alcohol or whatever, or it could be an addiction to validation with Mercury in Leo, you know, like an addiction to like scrolling or like getting that hit of dopamine from your phone, in whatever way that goes for you. Maybe it's an addiction to, you know, it could be anything. And so we're seeing what wounding these addictions are stemming from. And with Saturn and Neptune up here in Aries, Chiron in Aries, we could be feeling abandoned. We could be getting triggered in the same way that we were wounded in the past. Perhaps we have an abandonment wound from our family. Maybe our wound is associated with Pluto and Aquarius, and we avoid ourselves, and we avoid emotions, and we avoid people, and we self-isolate. Maybe the Virgo energy is wounding us, and it's this feeling of never being enough and never being good enough and never, getting that sense of I need to be perfect and I'm not perfect, and that is a wound. I think Virgo has this victim mentality that I can sometimes get caught in, because Virgo is associated with purity, and therefore if a lot of times with Virgo placements, this purity could be stolen, and that can leave us to be in victimhood. But where can we move from victimhood to victor in this time now with the Virgo energy? And I think maybe I've used that before in a past video, but it's super relevant, and every time we're working with Virgo, we're working with that energy. So I want to say that Venus is actually not, especially relevant with its it not being the ruling planet of this lunation, but Venus is opposite Pluto right now. And so there could be a need for depth in our relationships. There could be, our relationships are dying and passing away. Pluto is definitely a planet that is small but mighty. And if you're one of those people that thinks that Pluto's not important, well, just go ahead and tell that to the Pluto people out there in your life. Pluto is very powerful, and if not the most powerful planet in the solar system. Maybe that's just coming from me and my Scorpio stellium and my Pluto in Scorpio, but it can be with Pluto in Aquarius over here looking for depth, and maybe Aquarius is like new ways of getting in depth, becoming innovative and like inventive about how we get deep with people. And then Venus in Cancer is over here asking for comfort and asking for a sense of feeling at home. Excuse me. And it's looking for that comfort and safety and a sense of feeling at home. So I feel like this depth that many of us are needing right now could be, it's an opposition, so it could be like that it's not helping us, and like that Aquarius is like, actually I'm just gonna get that sense of comfort from my phone instead, or from like technology, or like I'm just gonna avoid instead because it's easier and that's more comfortable for me. That could be very real right now. So it's also making Venus is making a trine to Saturn and Neptune. So if your relationships are feeling out of whack and completely like just like they're all dying and passing away, Pluto, come back to that sense of like what was always my dream for this life, and like don't let yourself settle. Tap into that Regulus royalty and like ask yourself, what would you do if money wasn't an object? What would you do if you could do anything in the world? What truly is your heart's desire, right? What's that dream? What would you do if you could do anything in the world? And just like play with that idea. And the Saturn is there, so like be realistic, but like don't let yourself settle. Virgo doesn't settle. Virgo has high standards because maybe like with that, if there is a feeling of the purity being stolen, maybe that is because of why we have high standards, because it's like we're restoring that sense of purity for ourselves, and it's like we're not willing to let anything stand in our way of that, and like we're not willing to settle. for anything less than we deserve, because we have had less than we deserve, and fuck that. Yeah. So, I think the sun and moon square Chiron is like, how can we use these energies to heal the wound within? And can we tap into more subtle and more detailed parts of ourself that we normally maybe would overlook or not be able to notice, and hear our deepest soul desire and come back to that dream that we always had and maybe we've put on the back burner. Maybe that's what all the hard work that we're putting in now is going towards, is like that dream, and you know, all of this hard work is going to pay off. Maybe at the beginning here, at this first full moon, we're planting the seeds and we're at the 0 point of all potential, and we get to decide like what we want to devote our work towards. Virgo is about devotion. It's about hard work. It's about polishing that glass, and maybe by the time we get to the second new moon in Virgo, we finally are seeing like some results. That harvest, Virgo is the harvest goddess. She's the high priestess. You know, maybe we're like moving closer and closer towards that dream, whatever that looks like for us. I want to say that we should probably keep an eye on the president pretty closely, because not only does this man have 29 degrees Leo on his ascendant, that's 1 degree away from the 0 point Regulus, you know, and it's also conjunct Mars, so we know that he got his start being a big CEO, big boss man, big money man. Pardon me. Whew. I'm having to record this twice, so just Mercury doing the Mercury things. And yeah, we just need to keep an eye on him, because obviously he's been doing some batshit stuff, and there could really be something big that happens here for this full moon, or this new moon. Especially with this first one, because he is right there at that 0 degree, 1 degree away. But technically, it could still be, you know, at the second one too, because that's that 29 degree point, that energetic degree, that crisis point. So, who knows? I think we just need to keep an eye on him for sure. Yeah, any type of meditation is really helpful now. Like I said, tapping into that subtle energy, tapping into, holy moly, why am I yawning so much? Yeah, tapping into those subtle energies, being able to hear our own narrative, being able to hear ourselves and not judge ourselves. That's definitely gonna be the goal. A lot of people give me this excuse about meditation. It's like they can't meditate because their mind is too wild, and it's like, that's why we meditate. So put your money where your mouth is. If you're someone who said that you want to start meditating and you still haven't, if you're someone who wants to start doing like little things every day, you know, I do 10 minutes a day, and that for me is a big commitment, and that is, you know, the least I think any of us can do, even if it's just 1 minute a day, you know, like start small and let yourself feel like those small steps matter, and you know, like over time they will build, and over time the continuous consistent commitment will pay off. And that continuous consistent commitment and the devotion, you know, putting in the work, you're putting in the hours, you're putting in the blood, sweat, and tears, and eventually it will get to that point of where it appears to be perfection to someone who hasn't seen all the work that it's took to get you to where you are. And so, you know, that sense of perfection is not real. It's just, you know, what it really is like hard work, and it's commitment and it's devotion, showing up every single day for what you have decided is worth your time and worth your efforts. And it's part of your heart's desire, it's your dream, it's your true authentic thing, that you're doing it because you're not performing, you're not seeking validation, you're doing it for the pure love and joy of it. So letting yourself be humble, that's definitely a Virgo thing. Letting yourself be in, like, your heart is in it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning so much after this. I don't know why my first video didn't work, but here we are doing it again. I hope I don't miss anything. So I did already draw the cards and the rune in the last video because I, just recorded it. The card that we got is Weave the Golden Future, and I chose the Kuan Yin deck because Kuan Yin, Divine Feminine, Virgo is the only sign in the zodiac that's actually a woman. And so we're really looking at Divine Feminine energy, we're looking at Mother Earth, and we're looking at how we can improve every single day and contribute to the rebirth of this new Earth that we're here creating together. What individual efforts can we make that do matter, that do make a difference, and don't let it be too much pressure. Like, it could be something super small. Like, if you don't recycle in 2025, we gotta talk. I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, we do, but if you don't recycle, start recycling. If you don't compost, start composting. If you want to show up for a yoga class and you still haven't, show up for a yoga class. Like, take that leap of faith. Take that, use that Mercury and Leo courage to, like, show up every day. Because it takes guts and it takes courage to show up in those vulnerable spaces. So here's our card. It's, like I said, Weave the Golden Future, or Weave the Future Golden. And she says, something good is coming your way. Kuan Yin now assists you to weave your future into the present moment and call in and draw to you the opportunities, teachings, circumstances, and synchronicities that are waiting for you, and which will enable your soul to live its divine destiny with greater abundance, bliss, creative fulfillment. Divine destiny, eclipse season, period. Eclipse will bring us back into alignment if we have strayed. Trust that everything's moving for you and that everything is working out, and even if it seems crazy, is fertile training grounds for you to level up in your capacity. I'm not trying to sugarcoat any of this. I know shit's real right now. Trust me. I feel like my whole identity is being reborn. But yeah. So the rune that we got is the R rune. And that one is so Virgoan, it's not even funny. It's called Raid Ho. It's horse, ride, journey, Thor, the god Thor, movement, work, and growth. So Virgo rules over vehicles, and it rules over, like, our commute to work. Sagittarius is more so like travel and, like, long distance travel, and then Virgo is more like home travel and, like, to and from work and, vehicles. I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of people in car accidents, so please be careful. Hopefully nobody's car has any issues. And I also will say, it said horse as the first one, and it's like, horse is also, a pet, as well as a means of travel, and, not anymore, really, but, horses, pets, and, our furry companions is also ruled by Virgo. So I've seen some things with people's pets right now, and it's super sad, and I hope everybody's pet is okay. And if you lost your pet, I hope that you're dealing with the grief in a healthy way. And I yeah, things are changing and it's not always pretty, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So these things could be happening, and this is why we listen to astrology, so we can be a little bit more prepared. But there's really nothing that can fully prepare us to know what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We just know that there could be, it could be this, it could be that. So just being aware and being discerning, and protecting your peace, protecting your purity. That's Virgo, is protecting your purity. And Leo season and Cancer season was pretty tumultuous. Cancer season, especially Cancer and Jupiter, is bringing up lots and lots of emotions. It's got us all like reactive and baby status, and we could have started to turn to some negative coping mechanisms, and then Leo could have been wiling out like party girl. And so like any of that stuff is coming into balance now, and we're taking conscious action with this Virgo energy to reinstate a sense of purity within ourselves, and so that the idea with Virgo in Pisces axis is like, when we purify the body with Virgo, then spirit has a clean vessel to work with, and we are more open to the spirit realm, and we are more open to the blessings that come from that too as well, and the guidance and the assistance and all of the good things. So that's what we're doing here. It's not just like some dogmatic like you must purify yourself. So if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to my channel, send it to someone who you think it might resonate with, and I will see you back in 2 weeks, September 7th. I think earlier I said it was the 15th, but it's happening at the 15-degree point, not on the 15th. It's happening on the 7th of September, lunar eclipse in Pisces, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Sending big love for all the changes coming, and happy first Virgo new moon.